Going to let in our applicants here. Mr. Chair, we are now live. Applicants are entering.
Well, then, good evening. Welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustments meeting for Wednesday, June the 28th of 2023. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustments is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet pursuant to the Committee of Adjustment terms of reference and meeting procedures. All regular practices and procedures of the committee will continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we will take a brief recess and wait until they are resolved. Thank you for your patience. We'll now proceed with the meeting. I will now call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. And before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas. More specifically, the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity, and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action and acknowledging the United Nations declarations on the rights of Indigenous peoples and the Truth and Reconciliations Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation and as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. Before moving on to the application portion of this meeting, I would like to confirm whether there are any disclosures of interest from the committee this evening. If anybody has one, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I will assume there are none. And then I will look for we'll just continue with the rest of the agenda, which goes into the minutes, and I will look for a seconder on my committee to adopt the minutes of our last meeting on May 31st, 2023. Do I have anybody to put forward that motion? I see Ken. Thank you, Ken. And seconded, Brian, can I assume you can be seconder? Awesome.
Yes, please. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And any questions or discussion on the motion to adopt the minutes? Seeing none. All right, then I will look for a vote of all 5 council members to look for the vote on the May 31st minutes. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing all, perfect. So the motion has been carried. Okay, so now I'll quickly cover off a little bit about the mandate of the committee. For those of you that have joined us for the first time, the committee is bound by the Planning Act to assess each application based upon its ability to meet the 4 tests. That is that the application is minor in nature, it's desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, and finally, it is keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant or agent will be called upon, and at their option, they may provide a brief description of the minor variance application that they have applied for. The committee members may ask questions of the applicant and or agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will also be given an opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will be no further input from the applicant or anyone having interest in the application. And after a decision is made, a notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. The decision of the committee may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal or the OLT by the applicant or a specified person or public body, as outlined in the Planning Act. Please note that the third-party appeals are not permitted. After 20 days, the decision will become final and binding. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, please note that there are no permits provided or approvals until the matter is resolved and the appeal period is over, and then the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected at all present times. I'd like to now take a quick moment to introduce you to the committee members presiding over the procedures this evening. So we have my colleagues, Thomas Baca, Ken Elliott, Brian Hayes,
Good evening.
and Bernadette Santiago.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm the chair of the committee, Wasif Ahmed. I'd also like to introduce our staff from the town of Ajax, from the planning department. We have Josh Estrella, Eric Simpson, who's a senior planner and secretary treasurer of the committee, and Sarah Moore, who's our legislative specialist this evening. That said, now let's jump into the agenda and the first application for tonight's meeting. As you can see on your screen, if you are looking at the screen from the town of Ajax, the first application is A1523 for 16 Anstead Crescent by Amy and David Gorman to permit a maximum area of 37 square meters for a platform more than 1.2 meters in height above finished ground level. Could we get confirmation from town staff whether notice was served and whether there were any responses on this application?
Mr. Chair, notice was served and one piece of correspondence was received in support of the application, which was provided to the committee.
Okay, and do we have the applicant or agent here for this property? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, sorry, Sarah, I think I heard you say yes. Are you still there?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yep, just trying to
Okay.
prompt them so they can turn
Oh,
on their
okay,
audio.
perfect. So once the applicant has been able to get on and unmute themselves, I'll wait for that to happen and then we'll get started.
For Mr. and Mrs. Gorman, through the chair, if in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you could click the microphone icon as well as the video icon, you should be able to have access to your camera and sound.
We don't see the icon.
Ours is on the top.
Oh, it's unmuted. It's on the top. It says unmuted and video.
Can you hear us or
We,
see
we
us?
can, we can. Can I
Okay.
assume that to my left of the screen is David Gorman and ma'am, you on the right would be Amy Gorman?
Amy, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Amy Gorman.
Okay, that's amazing. All right. Well, so Mr. and Mrs. Gorman, I will just want to let you know, as you may see on your screen, that there is a staff report that the town of Ajax Planning Department has put together that is recommending approval of your application to the committee this evening. And subject to the three conditions, as you can see, I'll quickly read them out, that the subject variants apply only to the property municipally known as 16 Anstead, substantially in accordance with the drawings submitted with this application, or this decision shall become null and void. Condition number 2, that the owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. And condition number 3, the final condition, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Can you let me know, are you of understanding of the three conditions, and do you agree with them?
I think we agree with them. I'm not sure what they mean by the existing drainage because we're not doing anything
Near
with
the,
respect to the drainage.
Right. If you're not usually, Mr. Gorman, if you're not touching anything in terms of the drainage, then that should, by virtue of that, should be that you're maintaining existing drainage.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
whatever your drainage is today is what's to be maintained. So as
Yeah.
long as you're not messing with it, you're going to be fine.
We're not messing with it.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. All right. And so do you want to maybe just take a minute and maybe tell the committee a little bit about the application? What are you looking for? What are you looking to do in this project so the committee has a better handle?
Yeah, yes. We replaced a 40-odd-year-old deck that was 2 levels, and the deck was deteriorating, so we replaced it. And it was 2 levels. So what we have done is we raised the lower level up to the same level as the top. In doing that, we eliminated 2 series of steps going from the top to the middle to the lower level, and then from the lower level up to an existing walkway. That eliminated 2 steps. We
2
also
sets of steps.
widened the walkway a bit to make it more accessible. We're looking to the future. I mean, I'm 82 and my wife has had 2 knee replacements. So we're looking to the future in case we need more accessibility to get to that, to get to the deck. So it was widened slightly. Also, the reason for the walkway is there's a slope on both. We have a walkout basement. So both sides of the house have about a 45-degree slope down to the backyard. And at this point, if we want to walk down that slope, we have to hang on to the fence. And it's not very safe for us. Hence, the walkway allows us to go from the front of the house to the deck without going through the house. That's really the reason for what we've done.
Okay, very clear and succinct. Thank you, Mr. Gorman. So at this point, let me open it up to my committee members to see if they have any questions for either yourself or Amy.
Can I ask something?
Sure.
Basically, it's an exact footprint of our old deck. We just added, we brought in from one side to the deck a foot shorter, and we added a foot wider for the walkway. But because of that, I guess we didn't know it become 7 square meter, which is about 15 feet by 5 feet, and it add on to the deck area. So it becomes that we have to apply for this variance. Basically, it's like the old deck, and then we just brought the lower level up to eliminate 2 sets of stairs to be safer for us. We decided to stay here till the end because David lived here in Ajax for almost 50 years. I'm almost 40, and then we live in this house 35 years. So we like to stay till the end. So we wanted to make the deck safer for us so that we can use outdoor.
And there's a picture of the deck in the report.
Yeah, and that's already done, and it's quite nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay, no, appreciate the extra addendum there. All right, so then I will look to, again, my committee members to see if they have any questions for either David or Amy Gorman, the applicant.
I do have a question, Mr. Chair.
Sure, Tomas, go for it.
Mr. and Mrs. Gorman, so would you say that the majority of the size increase was because of your trying to make it accessible in the case of any disability or in the case of a future?
Yes, that's the reason for the walkway along the side.
Okay, thank you.
So we can reach the deck from the front of the house without going through the house.
The deck actually smaller, a little bit smaller, but the walkway is just a foot wider.
So
But
yeah,
they
it's to
were-
make it
Make it
accessible.
easy.
We had a walkway there before as well.
It just wasn't as wide.
It just
Yeah.
wasn't. It was about a foot shorter, foot
Yeah.
less wide.
Got it.
Thank
Tomas,
you.
yep, does that answer your question, Tomas? Are you okay?
It answered my question. Thank you.
All right, of course. Any other committee members? If you have a question, just raise your hand. Okay, seeing and hearing none, then I'll look to see whether there's anybody here in the audience on the call to either speak for or against this application. And again, we are discussing application A1523 for 16 Anstead Crescent. Anybody here to speak for or against?
No, Mr. Chair, there's no one.
Okay, and just for the record, and as town staff Eric Simpson mentioned earlier, there was one piece of correspondence that the committee is in receipt of that supported the decision of or the recommendation of approving the application. Okay, so if that's there's nobody else, then what we'll do is we'll look for a motion from our committee members to see if anybody's willing to put forth a motion in regards to this application A1523. Bernadette?
Mr. Chair, I am prepared to put a motion to approve the minor variance application A15-23, that it is minor in nature, that is desirable for this particular property, and finally, that it is in keeping with the Planning Act.
Okay, and I would assume that motion is subject to the 3 conditions, meeting the 3 conditions. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Bernadette. Any seconders on that motion? Thomas?
I'll second the
Thank-
motion.
Perfect, thank you. And any comments or discussion from committee members on the motion itself? Seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. All those in favor of approving the application, please raise your hand. Okay, so that's all 5. So Mr. and Mrs. Gorman, your application has been approved. Motion has been carried. And again, as I was mentioning earlier at the top of the call, that there will be a 20-day appeal period, but your application here, the Committee of Adjustments, has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May,
Thank you.
may we submit the building permit for the building permit now or? wait
You
20
can. No, you can absolutely submit it. You just can't start any work on it, and it won't get approved until after the appeal period. But you
Okay.
can
Okay.
absolutely submit it just to get it off your plate if you wanted.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
Okay.
the sign, do we
Take down the sign now.
be very,
Town staff will be in touch with you over the next couple of days, most likely after the long weekend, to get in touch with you in regards to those details.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chair, I
Okay.
can answer that question.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, the sign has to stay up until the appeal period is over. So once we notify you of that, then you can take down the sign.
okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. You're more than welcome to stay and watch the rest of the appeals or the applications rather, or you're free to go as well. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gorman. Have yourself a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. So then moving along, we'll go to the second application for this evening is application A1623 for 8 Gur Crescent. And for this application, the minor variance is looking, the minor variance has been submitted by MD Akib Akhtar for 8 Gur Crescent. And the application is looking for the minor variance being sought is to permit uncovered steps leading to a below grade entrance within the west interior side yard with a minimum setback of 0.1 meters from the interior side lot line. Town staff or Eric, if you can confirm whether the notice was served and whether there were any responses received.
Mr. Chair, notice was served. Correspondence was received in opposition, which was provided to the committee.
Okay, perfect. And do we have anybody here to speak for the application on behalf of the application, either as an agent or the applicant themselves?
Just scanning the participant list, Mr. Chair, and I do not see anyone in attendance.
Okay, I currently have about 7:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I would maybe perhaps look to the committee if you would so desire to perhaps move this to the end of the agenda. We have one more application we can move up and give the applicant or an agent some time, extra time to see if they are able to join. If not, then we can make a decision at that point. So just zooming across the committee, are you guys okay with that to defer this to the third item?
I'm okay to hold this matter down until the end.
Okay, thanks, Bernadette.
Yeah.
Can I see you
Go ahead.
nodding? Brian, you're okay, Tomas?
I'm okay too.
Okay, is there any concern from town staff?
No concerns on our end.
Okay, perfect. So if that's the case, then we will go to agenda item number 3. We'll move that up, and that would be for application A1723, and that would be for 2932 Rangeline Road, as application submitted by Mark Tucker, and this is to permit a maximum garage width of 8.3 meters and a garage building height of 9.8 meters. Eric, can you confirm whether notice was served on this one and whether there was any responses?
Mr. Chair, notice was served and there was one piece of correspondence in opposition, which was just provided to the committee recently.
Okay, thank you. And is there somebody here to speak on behalf of this application A1723 for 2932 Rangeline Road?
Yes, Mr.
I heard yes, sorry, Sarah, and I think you cut off for me at least. So I think I heard you say yes, so. We do
Sorry,
have
Mr. Chair. Yes, and I prompted the applicant to unmute.
Okay. So we'll give that a minute.
Yes, we can. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay,
Is this Mark?
Yes.
Okay. And sorry, can I ask? I'm sorry, I should have asked with the last name. I apologize for the
Okay.
two questions. Is this Mark Tucker?
Yes.
And sir, are you the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I addressed
Sure.
you appropriately. So, Mr. Tucker, we have, as may have heard, the application in front of us. There is also a staff report that's been provided to the, I believe, a copy of which was provided to you, but the town committee has this here as well, and the report is actually recommending approval to the application of both the garage width of 8.3 and building height of 9.8 meters, subject to 4 conditions. That first condition is that the subject variance applies only to the property municipally known as 2932 Range Line Road, and as illustrated in the drawings submitted with this application, or this decision shall become null and void. Condition number 2, that the owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. Number 3, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary permits from the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, or fondly known as TRCA, or decision shall become null and void. Or condition number 4, rather, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Mr. Tucker, do you have any questions or concerns with any of those conditions as part
No,
of
not,
the approval?
no, not at all.
Okay, good. And then can I also assume, sort of, that you are in receipt of the report itself?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. So then, Mr. Tucker, I will give you a couple of minutes here to perhaps tell the committee, myself and the committee members, a little bit about your project and why are you here today?
Well, we're trying to renovate the area, and we weren't, because we're in the floodplain, we're prevented from having a basement. So we're not allowed to have a basement at all. And so we're lacking a lot of storage. And also, because of the water table, we have to be above grade. So as such, we've asked to have the garage widened, so to accommodate a little bit more space, and also for the roof area to accommodate more space in the top, so we can have more storage. And also, we're not allowed, because we don't have a basement, we can't have our mechanicals in the basement. So we had to find a new place to relocate all of our mechanicals. So as such, we had to put all the mechanicals in the attic and then have space in the area to move around. So that's why we needed extra space in that area.
Okay, understood. Anything else you wanted to add before I hand it over to committee to see if they have any more specific and direct questions?
No, that's about it.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Then if that's the case, then I will look to fellow committee members to see if they have any questions in regards to the application itself or any presentation points from Mr. Tucker. Ken?
I have a question for staff through you, Mr. Chair. That
Sure.
for condition number 2, the owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. My understanding is that they're building a new house. Is it possible that there will be changes through the building permit process that could affect condition 2? Does it need to be modified, or is it sufficient?
Through the chair, that condition's more of a safeguard. Basically, it just means it's not a free for all. Don't change underlying things. But the fact that this has to go through a building permit process means that our engineering services group will review it. So if there are specific drainage requirements that need to be done, we would capture it. So it's not an issue. We understand that there would be grading changes on this property. It's more so just put in there so that there aren't impacts to adversely impact other neighbors. So to answer your question, no, it's not going to create a conflict.
Thank you.
I have a question as well, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please go ahead, Thomas.
Question for Mr. Tucker. So we are taking into account the objections that were raised, and as you are in non-conformance with the height requirement, that I believe it's just over 2 feet, or roughly 2 feet. Did you consider redesigning the roof to make it conform with the existing bylaw?
Well, the issue was to have enough space because all of our mechanicals has to be in the roof area. So to be able to walk in that area and to be comfortable, if we have to move around in the area, we needed that little extra space.
Okay, but
Right.
Right.
Right, because as I said before, we're according to TRCA, we're not allowed to have any of our mechanicals in the basement area, as most people do. As such, we had to move all that equipment into the a challenge in itself. However, to be able to maneuver in that area safely, we thought we would ask for that extra space.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions from committee members?
So following along with the height, it's hard to ascertain in the drawings. What's your ceiling height on the first and second floor?
The ceiling height on the first floor is 9 feet, is 11 feet approximately. And that is to accommodate the mechanicals moving through the ceiling, because we cannot have it. We're going to have huge bulkheads, so we had to increase the ceiling height a little bit there to move the mechanicals through the house and around the stairs. Also, and on the second floor, the issues were the same. Running the mechanicals from the attic down was a great challenge for the HVAC engineer. So we had to find the best possible way to accommodate all the equipment that's coming down from the attic. As such, we had to increase the height.
Okay.
And just for town staff, the current variance is being sought for is 9.8 versus 9.14, I believe.
Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Okay. So we're talking about 0.6 meters, which is roughly about 6 feet. Roughly. Okay. All right. Any other questions from committee members? All right. Seeing or hearing none, then I will look to see if there's anybody here in attendance today that is willing to speak either for or against the application. Again, we're application A1723. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
May I just add something else? So for our second and third floor, we also kept the height as close as possible to what our original drawings were. But on the main floor, that's where the most of the challenges were moving the equipment through the house.
Which is one of the reasons why you're at 11 feet, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Mr. Then again, sorry, I'll go back to seeing whether there's anybody here either for to speak for or against the application A1723. Okay.
No, Mr.
All right. So again, I'm recognizing the fact that there was one piece of correspondence that was submitted, but we don't have anybody here to either speak for or against the application. All right, then I will look to see whether the committee members are comfortable in putting forth a motion. Ken, I think I saw you first.
Yes, I would move that we adopt the staff recommendation and approve this application as outlined in the staff report.
Okay, and again, just to sort of not to nitpick, but just also with the 4 conditions, correct?
With the 4 conditions.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, do we have a seconder on that?
I'll second the motion to approve application A1723.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any questions or comments from anybody on the committee? Seeing or hearing none, then I'll look for a vote from the committee. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I think I've got 4. Anybody against, please raise your hand. I see 1. Okay, So the motion is carried 4-1. And Mr. Tucker, your application for A1723 has been approved this evening and will be subject to the appeal period as we outlined at the beginning.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. And again, you're more than welcome to stay if you would like, but also feel free to drop if we're done with your order of business. Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. All right, then we'll boomerang back to the third agenda item, which really was the second agenda item in the formal agenda, and that would be for 8 Gur Crescent, application A1623. Do we have any word whether the applicant is here now?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has joined.
Okay, so committee members, I'll look to you to help how we want to conduct ourselves. We're absolutely fine and well within our right to continue with the application. Obviously, without an agent or an application or somebody here to speak on behalf of the application, we will be missing that major component. But we do have a staff report that obviously paints a pretty detailed picture in terms of what's going on and the conditions. So I'd like to propose that we proceed with the application if you guys are comfortable. So maybe I'll look for just not a show of hands, but at least maybe some nods. If you guys are comfortable, if somebody's uncomfortable with that, then feel free to speak up, please.
I'm okay with that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Bernadette.
I'd just like to get a clarification from staff if this is,
No problem. We'll do that as part of as we go through the questions.
but is this
Otherwise,
something that
you're
would be
okay?
normal course?
Sorry, would it be normal course? Is that what your question was?
To proceed without the applicant?
We absolutely can. There's tons of precedents with the Committee of Adjustments where we have done that if the applicant or agent isn't present.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. But am I to assume that you're okay with it then to continue?
Yeah.
Okay, and we can during the process, guys, as we're going through the questions and answers, etc. We can at any point also defer this if we wanted. So this isn't the end all and be all, but I'm just kind of trying to get a gauge now to see whether you guys are interested in deferring right off the bat, or if that's something you want to reserve the right to do as we move through the application. And then decide. But if you're feeling that no, we should just defer right off the bat, I'm okay with that too. But my proposal is to hear it out at least, and then make that decision. Brian, Tomas, how you guys feeling?
I'm okay to proceed.
Okay.
I'm okay to proceed.
Okay, well, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. So let's go. And this application again for the records is for minor variance application A1623 for as submitted by MD Akib Akhtar for 8 Gur Crescent, and the town staff has prepared a recommendation approval for this application to the Committee of Adjustment, a copy of which would have been sent to the applicant or agent themselves. And there are 5 conditions, as you may be able to see on the screen in front of you right now. So I won't read them all, especially if the applicant isn't here. Maybe I'll give it 30 seconds for those of you that haven't seen this before that are on the call to give you a minute to read through. And then while we're doing that, Eric, can you just confirm whether notice was served on this application and whether there were any responses?
Notice was served, and there was correspondence in opposition, which was provided.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for confirming. All right. So there are the 5 conditions. So that being said, since we don't have the applicant here, I'll look for the committee to perhaps ask their questions to town staff or discussion that we may want to have amongst ourselves. So Brian, I think you mentioned that you had something or as well as Ken?
I did, but my question would be to the applicant, and they're not here.
Okay.
I'll just go through you to town staff. The building permit process will look after having a rail around the stairs.
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. And based on how many risers or steps that have been proposed, there would definitely be a need for a guardrail.
Brian, are you okay with that answer?
Yep, yep,
Okay.
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, of course. Ken?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, looking at the figure 2, could you clarify the dimension that is on the east side of the property? That it's indicating beside the garage. How much width is there for them to have unobstructed access on their own property through to the backyard? It looks narrow through the point where you're passing by the garage.
Through the chair, so yeah, there is a slight garage bump out there, which limits it to, I think it's just under 0.7 meters. And then once it gets closer towards the back, where there's a gate into the rear yard, it's 1.2 meters.
And 0.7 meters is the imperial conversion.
1 second. Let me
It's about
compare.
7 feet or so.
I don't think so.
Well, 0.7 of a meter.
Through
Oh,
the chair,
0.7.
2 feet 4 inches.
It's two and change feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I was looking at is
2.2
there
feet.
room for them to walk down on their own property from the front to the back beside the garage? Or are they relying on having to go on their other adjacent neighbor on the other side property?
There is space. There's currently patio stones there because staff did do a site inspection just to kind of verify that. So,
Ken, did you have anything else?
Not at the moment, thank you.
Okay, of course. Any other committee members with any questions on this or any discussion? Okay, so before I ask, and again, let the minutes show that we, the committee members, are in receipt of several correspondence that talk to this application, mostly opposing the application itself. And before I look for anybody else, how's the committee feeling in terms of the application? Is it something that you guys feel that we are comfortable or you are comfortable in voting on this evening? Or is this something that you would consider as a deferral to see whether we would want the applicant here?
I would consider a deferral relative to the access on the east side of the garage. I'm not certain that if you have to be able to get to your back to your front and you're relying solely on the reduced side here, that has there been sufficient space provided in here to do that? Now, that's it's just a caution, but I think it's my concern that because the stairs are planned to go down as opposed to down and up, and I understand there are limitations to that. So there isn't access to the rear yard on the west side of the property at all. So when this construction is permitted to proceed.
No, understood. And a very valid question in my opinion. So how's the thank you, Ken. How's the rest of the committee members feeling in terms of, you want to hear this out, the rest of it, or do you feel like, and that vote can go either way, but you know, or would you care to defer?
So I would like to hear from the opposing party and hear their concerns as well.
Okay, very clear. Thank you, Tomas. All right, so then if that's the case, then let's go there. So I think we confirmed earlier that there are people here that are present to be able to speak on either for or against this application. So let's, Sarah, would you mind maybe nudging one of them and see if they're willing to?
Sure, we're going to call upon them, Mr. Chair, in the order in which they arrived tonight. So we'll have Ms. Shalina, if you would like to start first.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm the neighbor that's right beside where they want to make steps going down.
Okay, so just for the record, that would put you at 6 Gur. Is that right, ma'am?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. Continue.
I've lived here for 35 years, never had a problem. And they're not a problem, but they seem to want to build stairs right at the end of their house, from the front of their house, going down. Now we have two gates there. They could have done it even further in and done their stairs, but they're doing it right at the front. That is going to interfere with my property. I have a sprinkler system put there. I have a couple of patio stones there that are small ones that I put, but there's not going to be very much room. I have like a shed there, and then there's a gate, and my snow blower, my lawnmower, everything goes in there. If they were to dig, their bobcat would destroy my sprinkler system and it would destroy my side of my property. I don't want anybody there. And then another thing is when you have tenants going to the stairs, they can see right into my dining room window. It's too close to the house. They should be able to do it on the other side where towards the back it's a wide space. Like I have the same space. Most people that do their basement doors or steps do it on the side of the garage, not the side of the house, of their front door. And that's where they want to do it, right in the front, where their window is and their stairs going down. I have grandchildren. If they go to play on my lawn, they may go down there. I also have a doodle, a dog. I don't need any problems. As I said, I've been living here 35 years and we try to keep the place good. I don't want tenants coming in and out next door. They can actually see right into my house. And I thought this was a single dwelling area. Why all of a sudden now I've got these new neighbors, they're very nice people, but they want to build going
Right.
down.
Right.
And I'm not happy with that.
Right.
I couldn't sleep since they put the sign up. It's really bothering me.
Yeah. I know I can appreciate that. So what I can tell you, maybe a couple of things. One is that the applicant so far has indicated that they're not using this as a as a the entrance for the use of a accessory apartment. However, it should be noted though that an accessory apartment as well as a home-based business are both permitted uses on the property, subject to they have to get the necessary permits for that. So if they wanted to do that and they apply for the permits and those are approved and whatever, they're well within their right to do that. Okay, but that is not currently the reason that the owner or the applicant is applying for this minor variance. They're proposing personal use in reasons to accommodate a secondary
Well, they should
unit.
do it in the back. They could also do it in the back. They've got lots of room. They have a pool, I have a pool.
Right.
They should be able to do it either from in the garage down their basements, like I've
Right.
seen people do,
Right.
or from the back on the side of the garage,
Yep.
or even the backyard.
Right.
I
So,
know it's for rental use. They told me that. At
okay.
first, I thought that's cool, but I thought it was going to be further back, not at the
Right.
front.
Right. No, understood. I hear you in terms of your concern. Okay. Did you have anything else to add, ma'am?
No, I don't.
Okay. And the committee has, I don't know if you heard that earlier, ma'am, well, you were on mute perhaps, but the committee has also received your written correspondence. Okay. So in addition to what you've just stated, I think there's some other concerns in there as well in more detail. So
Yes.
the committee has read through all that as well. So let me assure you that. Okay.
Yes, there is more concerns.
Okay, understood. So that said, let me see if there's anybody else here to speak either for or against the applications, or I think you indicated there were others.
Yes, there are two more participants, Mr. Chair. So we will now call upon Dina, please.
Hello.
Hi, good
can
evening,
you hear
Dina.
me?
How are you?
Very good, thank you. And you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Could you maybe just give the committee a little bit of a briefing in terms of where are you a neighbor as well?
No, I am
a relation of Nikki. I'm her sister, but I'm also a realtor. I've been in the business over 37 years.
Okay.
And I'm also a market value appraiser.
Okay.
So I take special interest in this. Aside from the personal interest, I have a professional interest in this.
Sure. Okay.
I think that my opinion right away, as soon as I heard it, that the location was going to be towards the front. It's primarily the location of the steps that we are concerned about. There's safety issues that we're concerned about because of the proximity between the two homes and where the stairs are going to be located. Secondly, the aesthetic appeal of where the stairs are going. It's going to affect the curb appeal of both properties. Primarily, I'm concerned about number 6 because Michelina, my sister, is at a time in her life where she may be considering moving. And so we're concerned about the resale and the saleability of the property. The resale value, I believe, could be and will be affected by the appearance of those stairs and the location of the stairs. I think that there are methods of satisfying both parties. And I think that maybe if a person was to visit the property and speak to number 6 and number 8 and maybe come up with an agreement where it's amicable, I think that putting it where they've proposed will definitely be an eyesore. It will be a safety issue. And when buyers approach either property, they're going to look at those stairs, and it's not going to help either property's value and appearance and for the saleability. So that's primarily my concern, is the reduction in home value that this is going to cause. I've priced Mickey's home today in the condition that it's in. And if those stairs go in, I know for a fact that my clients and any agent seeing those steps, it's going to pose an issue. They're going to ask, why are those steps, why are those steps there? Who utilizes those steps? How frequently do they get utilized? What kind of traffic will there be accessing those steps? The lighting, the exterior lighting will also be something to be considered because it'll be on at night and it could be blinding. And if that light is on, will it affect the enjoyment of someone living in number 6? So these are all detractions to having those steps at that location. So try to envision in your mind approaching a house and then seeing these odd steps to the right. Anyone with children will definitely have a concern. So I'm saying that I think as a realtor standpoint and from a market value appraiser standpoint, this will detract from the value of number 6. It may assist number 8 if it's an income earning property, but it's still an eyesore. It still will be a detraction.
I hear you. Okay. No, very clearly made point. Understood. And I appreciate your participating, especially on behalf of both from your personal and professional relationship.
Could I make one?
It'll be a quick one, sure.
Yes. So while the construction is happening, because it's limited space, there certainly will be damage to number 6.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to use the word certainly, just because we don't know. But I hear you that there's a very strong chance that could happen. I thought the same thing. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but I thought the same thing when I saw the written correspondence that covered that point, and I was thinking the same thing. I just don't know if I would say that with certainty and that confidence, just because it's an event that hasn't happened yet. So that said, no, very very well noted, and the committee has your correspondence and they read through it. So I hear you on that concern as well.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, Sarah, I think you mentioned there was a third person here to speak for or against the application.
Yes, Mr. Chair, David. Mr. Knox.
Okay.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, David. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I am a relative and future co-realtor of the property known as Six Burke Crescent. Mickey or Michelina is my sister-in-law, and I pretty much have the same concerns as what Dina mentioned, other than the fact that I'd like to add to the fact that driving through the neighborhood in that whole area, this would be the only house in the area that has a staircase at the front of it. We've sold many homes in this type of situation, and all of them, mostly all of them, have a staircase either at the back or have an internal staircase going down to the lower level. I pretty much have the same concerns as what Dina mentioned. It will definitely affect the saleability of the house because it's the only house in the area that will have a staircase at the front yard.
Right. Okay. Well noted.
Mr.
Absolutely.
Chair, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know that the applicant has just arrived, so I'm just going to allow them to enter the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. So David, just while that's happening, so understood, heard, and so the committee will keep that in mind as well.
Thank you.
And, thanks for providing that feedback. All right. So as the committee waits for the applicant to join in here, committee members, I'll just game plan here would really just be to give the applicant an opportunity to present their case, and I will let them know that we have already heard, obviously, the written correspondence that was provided by town staff or via the town staff, but that we've also just heard from other folks, i.e., the neighbors and the sister and the sister's husband as well.
Mr. Chair, they are present, so
Okay.
you're welcome to unmute yourself.
Okay, so if you're here to speak for application on behalf of application
Hello.
A1623. Yes, hi, is this Mr. Akhtar?
Yes, this is Mr. Arthur. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Sorry, I joined late because today is our Eid festival, so uh, I had to took my family to my people, right? So that's why I couldn't join earlier. But I
Okay.
just,
Well,
I just,
here's what I'm going to tell you you've missed, Mr. Akhtar. Just to get to the point, the committee has been waiting quite a while, and we did move your application down. So we've done everything that we can to accommodate the best possible. So the committee did go through the application, or the staff report rather, for application A1623. The committee members have also received correspondence that they've read through, and your neighbor from on 6 Gur Crescent had also spoken, and there's 2 other parties that have also spoken, all not in favor of the application. So I just wanted to make sure that that I catch you up with all the facts. So I'll now give you a couple of minutes to perhaps give us a quick rundown of what the proposal is and why you're seeking a minor variance application. So the floor is yours.
thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. So we bought this house because my in-laws are coming in October, and we need some place. Also, I do am I'm a musician, so I have people come for music stuff in my basement. So it's hampering my privacy that they just come into from my family instead of they can just go through a different door. I just need a door. I'm not trying to hamper anybody's privacy. I can put a fence around if it helps to secure the entrance area if that helps, because otherwise we have to sell this property kind of situation, because we need those extra rooms. That's why we bought this property, because my in-laws are coming on the October 17. I have flight tickets if you need to confirm it. They're coming on October, so I need to build the entrance by this summer. And I did spoke to my neighbor Six Gar back in May. Actually, it was May, and she said she had no issues as long as it's in my property area. Also, she also did mention me that she will be moving out of the house in the end of summer, because she's planning to buy somewhere in a small bungalow, so she won't be living here anyway. That's what she told me. I don't know the reality. So I thought that's all I thought. I didn't know that she would have any objection on this. Otherwise, I would have tried to make maybe some on the other corner maybe, but I didn't know that she had any issues with this. So I do need this entrance, and I will be making sure all kind of privacy is maintained, especially the lighting and all. It's if it needs, I can put essential lighting. It won't be turned on every time. Also, if it needs to be more secured for other people to it's just my friends may be coming. It's not like I'm renting it out or something. If it helps, I can put a camera in to have it more secure, or whatever needs to be done. I am okay to do putting fence around, uh, so that it doesn't hamper anybody's privacy or any lighting issues or anything that they had concern with.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that briefing, Mr. Actor. So I know the committee members are patiently holding their questions for you to arrive. So let me open it up to my committee members to see if they would like to now ask the questions, if you still have to ask those questions to the applicant. So if you do, just raise your hand, I'll acknowledge and we'll move forward. Ken, go ahead.
Mr. Applicant, through you, Mr. Chair, is it possible for you to consider relocating the stairs to a different location on your property? To be on the east side of the property, in behind the garage, at the back, someplace that is not, it's at the front of the house on the left side. And I wondered if it was possible that you would consider that.
At the back of my property, I have a swimming pool, so it's another privacy concern for my family. For like, it's the swimming pool is at the back of the property, so I don't want anybody to come at the back anyway. So that's why and also it's a very small place for my kids to run around. So if I make an entrance from there, like, we don't have like anything to even my kids can play there. It's a very small area because one side is fully pool, like a swimming pool, and the other side is a small grass area where my kids actually play in the evening. So that's why I'm not considering at the back.
And the opposite side?
On the opposite side, I'm okay. If the committee allows me to do on the opposite side, I'm okay. if if you allow me to do it on the opposite side, I'm fine with that. On the, I mean, the right side of the house, you mean, right? Not the left side, right?
Yeah, on the
I'm okay
east.
with
On the
the,
east.
yeah, I'm okay on the right side if you allow me to. I don't have any
Yeah.
issues.
Now, just to address if you allow me to, I don't want to speak for town planning staff, but if that was the application, that would have to go through with town planning staff. They would do all the measurements, etc. Right now, obviously, the minor variance right now is for the west side,
Yeah.
and that's all we're considering. So you will, if you do decide to look at an alternate option, let's say like the east side where the AC unit is, etc., that is something that will have to be a new application. Well, a new, you'll have to start from scratch and take a look to see as to, what the measurements are and whether you would then be encroaching and whether you may or may not even require a minor variance. So that'll be up to the new application. Okay, Ken, did you
Okay.
have anything else?
Also, can I ask you something like, let's say, for example, if I break my whole house and I apply for a new house permit, so will that be another issue with the neighbors? Like, yeah, because it's on my property line, right? So what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to go into anyone else's property. It's on my property line. So if I'm asking for permission, because I'm not trying to do anything without the city allowing me to do, right?
Right. But
So
there are still
that
bylaws, Mr. Rector, right? There is still a bylaw on setbacks. So even though
That's
it's
what
your
we are
property, there are the setbacks, right?
right, of course, that's the minor variance that for 1.1 meter, right?
Yep, absolutely. So, and that's exactly it, right? So it comes down to, which is the reason for us all here right now having this discussion is
Exactly. Yeah.
because there is a setback that's part of the bylaw, and obviously we're looking at a relief against that bylaw,
Yes, please.
right?
Yes.
So that's what the application is. Okay. Ken, did you have any other follow-up questions?
I don't have a follow-up question, but after the other members have spoken, I have
Okay, no problem.
something
So
I
let
would
me
like to propose.
understood. Okay. Brian, Bernadette, Tomas, anybody with any other questions?
I do have a question, Mr. Chair.
Sure, go ahead, Tomas.
Mr. Actor, were there any design limitations that would prevent you from pushing the entrance from like the front of the property towards the back on the same side?
Yes, I have the pool heater, pool filter, everything on that side, like at the back side.
So
Yep.
would it be a possibility? Would there be a possibility to have that relocated to accommodate that entrance?
So I think I have to then break the whole thing and then move it to somewhere else, like the in the pool heater and everything, because it considered the water line, and then all those pipe has to be taken out. So that's like way more work for me than just to do the it's like I have to break a lot of things there because it's going underneath the pipes and everything, right?
So I'm assuming that's like an in-ground pool.
Yes, it's an in-ground pool. Yes, that's why, because otherwise it would change the whole look of the backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Bernadette?
Mr. Chair, perhaps it would assist the committee if Mr. Akhtar could explain to us what was the reasoning behind selecting the west side versus the east side. I understand on the west side further back, you've got all the pool equipment, but why was it not canvassed on the east side? I understand based on the drawings that we have, I see that there's an AC unit there, but why did we choose the left side, which is at the front of the house, where you would have had on the east side something that's a little bit pushed back?
Okay.
So the pushback on the AC unit side, there is electricals as well. So on the AC unit side, if I move it there, there's a furnace room too on the AC side. So I have to move the whole furnace unit from that west area if I have to dig there. If you see the I can send picture of inside portion of the house where it's kind of very complicated on the other side because of this furnace and everything.
So you have your utilities in the basement next to your west side wall is where basically where
Yes,
it comes down
that's
to.
where the
Okay.
AC unit and the electrical. Yeah.
Okay. Understood. Anything else, Bernadette?
No, that's quite clear, Mrs. Chair. So just based on that, my understanding is basically based on what your current footprint of your property and house, that the west side to the front of the house really allows you right now in its current state, the best kind of ability to put any door or entrance to your home. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, I brought few contractor too, if they can do it on the other side. So they said this is the only side they can do it properly. Otherwise, I have to move the whole furnace room from there, which is more complicated task for them. They were
Right.
saying.
Okay. All right. Brian? I think you had your hand up. Do you still have a question?
Thank you. It's not clear from the drawings. Mr. Akhtar, in-ground pool, you've got the pool equipment. Is there a gate there on the west side in the fence?
Yes.
And when you're maintaining your pool and you have to backwash it, drain it, whatever, where are you running the hoses? In the back, or are you running them out the front into the swale?
From the front to my towards my garage to the outside.
On the other side, on the east side.
Yeah, from the east side, the hose comes all the way to the drain is at the front, right? So towards the front.
Okay, so not along the west side.
No,
Okay.
we cannot. No, there's no. The water line is on the east side.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from committee members? And then I think hearing none, Ken, I think you had a suggestion.
Mr. Chair, I'm not going to make my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. All right, so thank you, Mr. Actor, and thank you, committee members. So that brings us to a motion situation. So is there anybody on the committee that's willing to put forth a motion, either supporting or not, application number A1623?
Mr. Chair, before we move forward with the motion, is there a possibility that I ask Mrs. Dina a question?
Sure. Mrs. Dina, are you still on the call?
I
Can you
am.
still hear us?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you willing to entertain a question?
Absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead, Tomas.
Thank you, Mrs. Dina. You identified yourself as a market value appraiser.
Correct.
So would you be able to provide the committee with any market-based evidence, maybe demonstrating that the properties abutting houses with below-grade entrances are in any way negatively affected in terms of their resale value?
I could, if I could find comparables. I'd have to search to see if there are any. I can tell you though, based on my experience, that having been in the business since 1984 and having shown many homes to families, the first reaction will be, why are those stairs there? Are they safe? And I think the curb appeal will be the first detraction. It will appear as though it's a multi-residential property. I understand that they are in allowance today to have a multi-residential property, but given that neighborhood, given that style of home, it will be a detraction. So if I'm just pulling a number, if I were to have appraised her home today at $1.3 million, I could suggest that it would be difficult to get her $1.3 million as easily as I could today with those stairs. Those stairs will pose an issue from buyers. They will probably want to look elsewhere before wanting to move next door to a home that has a basement apartment, that has musicians with equipment going down those stairs. He did say he had musicians entering into there, not only his in-laws. So it would be high traffic area. So I think that that's going to lower the value. I don't think people will be as ready to pay whatever market value for that property. They will want to keep looking to find one that won't have that detraction at the front.
So have you ever represented a client in a similar situation?
I have represented many clients with many different issues between neighbors and properties, yes.
And in your experience, that value was negatively affected by the presence of the staircase?
Yes, it may not have been exactly a staircase, but it might have been a right of way to be like a pathway to walk down someone's home to get to the back of their home. And yes, it has posed an issue. People, when they purchase property, want to know the boundaries of their property. They want to know how much privacy they're going to have. And knowing the traffic or the neighbors, that's the first question most buyers ask. Who are the neighbors? What is happening next door? Why are those stairs there? Why are the lights on at night? Like most showings, especially in the fall time, The evening lights will be on. They will need the evening lights to be able to access the stairs. So it will be a primary factor when approaching the property. So yes, the answer is yes. I have had experience where this type of situation has impacted dramatically the value of someone's property, and not only the value, the saleability. It's taken so much longer to sell their property.
Okay, Tomas, are you satisfied with that?
I am, thank you.
Okay, Brian?
Question also to Dina. Dina, should Mr. Akhtar take steps to put a fence along the west side and along the front of the steps and do something with regards to making sure the stairs are lit, but in such a manner as to minimize the glare, for lack of a better term? Is that going to go away towards minimizing the negative?
Not necessarily. It could in fact compound the issue. Excuse me. It could possibly make it even much more unattractive and much more of an obtrusive. If you visited the property or saw a photograph of the outside, you'd see where those steps will be. And taking a photograph of either home, especially number 6, we would have to try not to show those steps in the photo. Because if those steps are in the photo of the view of the front of the home on the MLS, I'm sure many agents will say, ooh, what's that? I don't think my client would like
but
that.
what I'm saying is, if he creates a fence from the existing fence, brings it out along the property line just inside, and then across in front of the stairs going down. So he's got now at the front of the house, there's the front of the house, and there's a gate, for lack of a better term, a closed gate. You don't know if there's stairs there or not. It's implied there are because there's a gate, but it could be just a gate into the backyard, but there's a gate.
2 answers, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because it would allow for that mystery of what's behind that fence, and it wouldn't be as an eyesore or maybe as scary for a potential buyer with clients, or the existing homeowner with her grandchildren. But no, because of where it's being proposed. It still needs to be pushed back towards the rear of the property. It sounds to me like the neighbor, number 8, is willing to work with trying to accommodate it further back, providing the town is prepared to allow it. However, he did cite the fact that it would cost him to move I think it's the water pool.
I'm gonna jump in here, Dina. I'm sorry. Only because so I hear what you're saying, and I think it's a regurgitation of what the applicant said, and you're right. I agree with you with what you're about to say. But I think the question was more around from your professional experience, just in terms of the fence and being fenced off. And I think you've been very clear that would still impact. Yeah, if it would still impact the property value. I think it was the answer, Brian.
It would, because it's too forward.
Understood. Yep, understood. I think it's the location. That's so it's not just the fact that it's stairs. I think it's the location is the point that you made earlier.
Correct.
Okay, understood. Brian, is that you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from committee members? All right. So seeing none, then I'll look for a motion. Again, application A1623 for 8 GUR. All right, I'll put forth a motion because I don't think I see anybody's hands. I'll put forth the motion.
Mr. Chair, you typically have to vacate the chair to put forward a motion.
Okay, so then very fair, thank you, Sarah. Let me go back and look at our committee members. Okay, go ahead, Ken. Sorry, I don't know how long your hand is up there. I apologize.
No, I just put my hand up. I would be willing to propose a motion I would be willing to propose a motion that we not approve this application based on how it is set out and configured with this location. I was originally going to suggest that we defer it to another time, but I don't think that that's going to work. So I would say that we not approve the application
Ken,
as recommended.
completely your prerogative, but if I may, just perhaps give you some counsel. Are you okay to perhaps word the motion to the affirmative, and then if anybody wants to vote to the negative, they just have to not put up their hand when we're asking for all in favor, because that would then indicate that they're not in favor of the application, if you're okay with that.
No, that's not what I'm suggesting.
Okay. So then I'll let you word your own motion. So how would you word your motion then, Ken?
Chair, if I may offer some procedural guidance here. So we typically don't frame motions in a negative stance.
That's what I was thinking.
I believe what the chair is trying to put forward is that staff have put forward a recommendation. Recommendation is forward to the committee. If the committee feels that it warrants discussion, either for or against, a member would be requested to put forward that as a mover. That doesn't necessarily mean that after discussion or debate that vote is declared because they have put forward it as that their vote is determined because they were the mover. It just allows the motion to be carried on the floor for that discussion and debate to occur between members before that final vote is taken.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So again, thank you, Sarah. Much more eloquently put than what I was trying to do. If you're still okay, Ken, to put, or anybody on the committee, to put forth a motion, as we normally would do, and then the voting is what will declare whether we vote in favor or not in favor of the application. Okay, so Tomas?
So I will move to approve the application, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So I move to approve the application A16-23, subject to all staff conditions, on the basis that it is binary in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaw.
Okay. Thank you, Tomas. Do we have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Brian. All
So
right,
through the chair, sorry, just another procedural point. If there is no seconder, that is fine as well. That's another crossing point within the procedure. If there is no seconder and a seconder is required, and I defer to Eric for clarification, then the motion would die due to lack of seconder. Or you can proceed with seconding, debate, and then vote.
Okay, Brian, are you still comfortable in seconding, or?
I'll withdraw my seconder based on what Sarah just said.
Okay. Do we have?
Just for clarification, if I could ask through the chair, Eric, is a seconder required for motions of the committee?
To be honest, Sarah, that's kind of your expertise, so I was kind of hoping that you could clarify that.
Okay, so we're gonna have to pull up the terms of reference. If somebody wishes to proceed, it still comes down to the vote of the committee members.
Yeah, ultimately,
previous minutes.
the vote,
Okay,
right?
so
Correct.
based on procedure and the final decision is via the vote, I'll move it forward through procedure. I'll second it.
Thank you. So we got the original motion from Tomas seeking approval, and Brian as the seconder, so that the minutes show that. And if there is there any further discussion, or we can, if there isn't, then we can move to voting. So is there any further discussion on the motion from committee members? Seeing no hands, then I'll look for a vote, first seeking to the affirmative for those of us from the committee that are willing to approve or support the minor variance application A1623 as submitted. Please raise your hands. So all those in favor? Tomas, I see one. Okay, thank you. All those not in favor of the application A1623, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 4. So the motion is not carried this evening by the count of 1 to 4. And that means minor variance application is not approved for A1623 this evening. Okay, thank you again for the public's participation. Mr. Akhtar, as you would have just heard the decision from the committee, you're free to go back and consult with the committee as of tomorrow, first business day, in terms of what your next plan of action would be. Okay. You're welcome. All right. That said, and you're also more than welcome to stay along for as the town committee moves forward on its agenda, or free to go as well. And if you do choose to go, have yourselves a good evening. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is other new business. So agenda item number 6. So does anybody have any other or new business? Okay, seeing none, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I can put a motion for that.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Thanks, Bernadette. Can I assume that you're a
I will
second?
second.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I think we got unanimous. Okay, perfect. Thank you. The meeting of the town of Ajax for Wednesday, the 28th of June is now adjourned.